Damn, maybe I should have done this months ago.
Oh hey, with Hideaki Itsuno leaving Capcom, I've been wondering what changes might be in store for the Devil May Cry franchise. From characters and story to gameplay, everything surrounding DMC. There's a lot to consider. In this video, I want to dive into those possibilities. But first, let me take a moment to bid farewell to Itsuno. Itsuno-san, thank you for bringing us DMC3, DMC4, supervising the reboot, Dragon's Dogma, and DMC5. Without you and your talented team, those games wouldn't have been nearly as badass or memorable as they are today. Best of luck on your new journey with Lightspeed Studios. I'm looking forward to that new action game you're working on. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the future of Devil May Cry. Bingo. From a sales perspective, or in Capcom's eyes, the DMC franchise is doing far too well for them to simply drop it now that Itsuno has left. DMC5 sold 8.7 million units, earning a spot as the 11th best-selling title in Capcom's Platinum titles. It even surpassed heavy hitters like Street Fighter V, Resident Evil 2, and some older Monster Hunter games. With numbers like that, it's safe to say Capcom will continue to support DMC, especially given their recent efforts to revive dormant IPs like Onimusha and Okami 2. Now the more important question here is, when will Capcom drop a new DMC game? It's been 6 years now, and y'all remember what the devs said on the DMC5 art book? Yeah, let's hope it's not another 10 years. Let's also not forget that Capcom has been doing collaborations and other content related to DMC since DMC5 dropped, like Visions of E manga, Shin Megami Tensei Liberation collab, Mega Man 11 crossover, Los Claudia collab, DMC5 Pachinko. Yeah, that exists. Devil May Cry Peak of Combat, which was a piece of shit by the way, the Netflix anime, Punishing Grey Raven collab, and Fortnite collab? Sure, I guess. This is probably the most side content and cross-promotion DMC has ever had. You know, this kind of shows that Capcom hasn't really just forgotten this franchise, even though this stuff isn't really that big. But still, it still shows a sign. Honestly, I think there's only two possible ways that Capcom would do for DMC. First one are remakes, with Capcom going all in on remakes, Resident Evil being a prime example. It wouldn't be surprising if they eventually turned their attention to DMC. A remake of DMC 1 feels like the most logical starting point for them, given its significance in the franchise. While I personally prefer a sequel rather than revisiting the past again, Capcom's track record with remakes makes it a real possibility. And who knows, if that new Onimusha game that they showed is actually a remake, you know, maybe it might pave the way for DMC to follow suit, I guess. The second one is DMC6. I mean, this one is a no-brainer, and I personally prefer it over a remake any day. However, let's discuss some potential factors that could influence DMC6 now that Itsuno is no longer with Capcom. Okay, let's start off with not about Itsuno, but a very important person, which is
Reuben Langdon is cancelled? Alright, this topic has been making the rounds a lot lately. Like, a lot. So I'll keep it brief. No, Reuben Langdon is not cancelled. He hasn't quit acting, and he's still able to work with Capcom. If you've been following his Twitter or caught his recent appearance on the Culture Crave podcast, he addressed several topics, including the situation with the Street Fighter 6 producer, Johnny Young Bosch voicing Dante in the Netflix anime, and also the cancel rumors and all that. If you really want the nitty-gritty details, I recommend checking out the podcast. But the bottom line is, Reuben can still return as Dante in a future Devil May Cry game, or even potentially even in the Netflix anime if the later seasons Dante will get older. But yeah, who knows? We'll definitely have to see, but it's definitely a possibility. Next one is gonna be about the new director. The only person that we know of that have worked on Devil May Cry that is currently in Capcom right now is Hideaki Kamiya, since, he is back for Okami 2. Right now, that's like the only potential lead we have for a new DMC director. But other than that, it's completely a blank canvas.
I personally don't think Hideki Kamiya would be a great fit for the current direction of Devil May Cry. Like, he's known for incorporating QTEs, rail shooter segments, and huge scripted spectacle set pieces. I just don't see that meshing well with the more free flow, insane player expression gameplay that Devil May Cry has evolved into. I'd much rather see a new director who was already, like, let's say, a part of Itsuno's dev team when he was working in DMC3 to DMC5, you know? And speaking about that hypothetical new DMC director we're waiting for, it's also a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, we could see some truly fresh, innovative ideas, similar to how Itsuno revolutionized the series with Devil May Cry 3. On the other hand, there's always the risk of getting something too far removed from what the fans love, like the reboot. But hey, I'm staying optimistic. I'm hoping that we'll get something new and exciting, especially if that new director already had experience with a DMC game, you know, maybe DMC 3, 4, or 5. Hell, maybe Itsuno has already left a successor in his place, and we'll just have to find out when DMC6 is officially announced or something. Now let's talk about the characters. With Itsuno being gone, there's some potential things that can change. Like Dante. Dante is a bit of a tricky character for Itsuno. While he still cares about him and puts a lot of effort into his gameplay, he's openly admitted that Dante isn't his favorite character, especially since he wasn't the one who originally created him. That role belongs to Hideki Kamiya. To add even further, Bingo Morihashi, who is the scenario writer for DMC, echoed a similar sentiment. Despite working on 3 games in the series, Morihashi struggled to fully understand Dante, constantly questioning if his dialogue truly fit the character. He also explained that Dante takes after Kamiya's vision, with the strong, almost untouchable aura. While the DMC dev team drew inspiration from DMC1 Dante, Morihashi felt that they could never truly surpass what Kamiya had created. With Itsuno gone and the possibility of Bingo not returning to write for DMC6, there's some chance for Dante to actually take the center stage once again, but that still really just depends on what direction the new director or writer chooses to take the series. Nero's future in DMC6 remains up in the air. While it's still possible that Nero will continue to take the lead, much of that is tied to the legacy left by Itsuno. You also got Bingo Morihashi that has stated on the DMC Artbook that he really values Nero a lot more than Dante, and Dante will be the main focus in the next game. He's most likely not gonna be involved, but keep in mind that interview was like before DMC5 got released, so you know, maybe he has a different opinions now, but who knows, you know. That's just like the last information we know about how Bingo feels about Dante, Nero, and all that. The shift in leadership could mean a new direction for the series, and whether or not Nero remains in the spotlight will be determined by the creative choices made by those stepping into the roles left behind. Only time will tell if Nero's journey will continue as a central focus, or if the spotlight will shift elsewhere. Vergil definitely received a lot of attention in DMC5, given that the entire story centers around him. So regardless of Itsuno's involvement, I have a feeling he'll remain in more of a support role in the next game, unless they surprise us with a Vergil solo game or him taking the lead. However, if that were to happen, Bingo Morihashi would likely be out of the picture, since Bingo Morihashi has expressed that he doesn't find Vergil as compelling as the main protagonist, and would probably not be interested in writing for a game where Vergil is the central character, which is very unfortunate. Lady, Trish, Morrison, and the supporting cast. Honestly, I don't have much to say about them, aside from wanting to see them play a bit more of an active role in the next DMC, and I really doubt a DMC game could juggle that many characters at once, so the best chance we'd have of seeing them be playable might be through some DLC, especially if Vergil's already part of the base game. Oh yeah, that could work.
Alright, let's dive into some potential story ideas for DMC6. I got two possibilities in my mind, mainly because DMC5 left things pretty open-ended, so the direction for Devil May Cry 6 could really go anywhere. So I'm just gonna keep it simple and focus on the safest route Capcom could take, as well as the more risky one. The safest route they could take, with or without Itsuno, would be a Mundus invasion arc, or a Mundus resurrection arc. This death has always been a bit ambiguous in the lore, so bringing him back as the main villain for DMC6 would be an easy move. Like, picture this, Mundus coming back stronger than ever, absolutely wrecking everyone early on, and setting up a massive comeback arc for the later missions. Think of it like Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc, or something along those lines. This setup would give us the chance to play as Nero, Dante, and Vergil on the base games. You can play Vergil on the base game. You don't need special edition this time. You know, switching between them during missions like in DMC5, and since Vergil is already part of the base game roster, Lady and Trish could easily take his spot in the special edition, if everything aligns perfectly. That way, everyone's happy with the character lineup, and we get a solid mix of story and gameplay variety. Now here comes the riskier story. As much as I love seeing more of Dante, we have to admit that his character arc truly peaked in DMC1. He accomplished what he set out to do, avenging his mother and brother by defeating Mundus, all while upholding Sparta's legacy. That was the core reason he became a devil hunter, and he achieved it. So when he took on more of a mentor role in DMC4 and parts of DMC5, I was completely fine with it. It felt like the natural progression of his journey. Now this shift in Dante's role opens up a possibility, a full-on solo Nero game. I know, sounds crazy. You know, no Dante, no Vergil, just Nero stepping into the spotlight. Imagine a game where the story, the cutscenes, and the gameplay all revolve around him. Similar to how DMC3 was entirely Dante's story. Personally, I'd be all for it. I love Nero. His gameplay, his personality, and the arcs he's gone through. A game like this could let him evolve even more, giving him his own personal rival enemy, deeper gameplay mechanics for Nero, further character growth, and all those good things. But now here's where the unfortunate side of this idea comes in. Without Itsuno, practically treated Nero like his own child in this series, it's a bit of a gamble. The odds feel like 50-50 without his guidance. And if Bingo Moriyashi, who's been instrumental in writing Nero, doesn't return either, my excitement would turn into cautious optimism. It's a big risk in terms of like sales and even on the fans themselves. But I don't know, man, if done right, this thing could be really amazing. I don't know, that's just me though. What do you think? Music. High chance DMC6 will probably use DMC5 as a template, and what I mean by that is that it will be more experimental and will have a variety of music genres in it, and not just strictly orchestral, industrial, and metal, which the older DMCs are known for. DMC5 has such a wide variety of genres in its soundtrack, and I don't care what anyone says, if you exclude the major hits like Devil Trigger or Bury the Light, DMC5 is still an incredible and diverse selection of tracks. You've got a bit of chill jazz fusion, deathcore, melodic death, or 2000s electronic core vibes. Gen. Hardcore techno. Rave. The list goes on. I want DMC6 to take a similar approach and bring something fresh to the table, rather than trying to one-on-one replicate the sound of the older DMCs. And not to mention, this diversity is all thanks to Kota Suzuki, and also the many composers who collaborate to create DMC5's OST. Now speaking of Kota Suzuki, he's probably still going to be the lead composer for DMC6. Yes, Tetsuya Shibata did a phenomenal job on DMC2 to DMC4, and I think he's still the best composer for Devil May Cry.
But I think Kota Suzuki needs some recognition too for bringing in so many modern elements while also keep retaining what a quote-unquote DMC soundtrack should sound like. Not to mention, he's also a part of why Bird Delight and Double Trigger sounds like that. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit Tracy Edwards, Ali Edwards, and Victor Borba. I'm just saying that Kota Suzuki is still the one giving input and direction, not just Casey, but also the other composers, Cody Matthew Johnson, Yoshiya Tarayama, Jeff Rona, you know, those guys. In the end, it's all a collaboration effort by everybody. Oh yeah, now that I mentioned Bird Delight, I'm pretty sure they'll bring back Casey Edwards. This guy came in for the DMC5 OST, dropped 2 massive bangers that racked up like 100 million plus views and streams on YouTube and Spotify, and you think they won't bring him back? Hell nah. Like, he already made a song for POC with Fire Inside and contributed to another Capcom game, which was Exo Primal. I mean, that's kind of like a sign, or like Capcom keeping tabs on Casey, you know? Now this one might sound impossible, but I would love to see Tetsuya Shibata back for DMC6. I could definitely see him contributing to a Dante team, or maybe a few boss tracks. It would be so interesting to hear his take on a modern Devil May Cry song. I mean, the closest thing we got was like the HM arranged tracks, but even then, I doubt he was even involved in those new arrangements and was probably just credited. But yeah, I would really love to see this dude back again. It's probably gonna be the final topic, which is the gameplay. First, I'll cover some general gameplay and modes and stuff, so this one's gonna be quick. First one is gonna be the animations. I'm pretty sure the animations for DMC6 will likely remain very similar to DMC5. At this point, it's safe to say that kind of style will be like the standard for any future Devil May Cry game. While casual fans probably won't have an issue with this, hardcore or advanced DMC players might find this a bit problematic. DMC5 already had several mechanics that felt less fluid or smooth to cancel compared to DMC3 and DMC4. Now imagine DMC6, you know, let's not hope it gets too heavy on like, you know, the recoveries, you know, trying way too hard to like, I guess, to be more immersive, I guess. But yeah, I hope they don't do too much for that one. As for difficulty, DMC5 wasn't particularly challenging. I mean, aside from like maybe a few enemies, especially on DMD, but overall they aren't really that hard, especially compared to DMC3 or DMC4 or even DMC1. Hopefully the developers at DMC6 saw like a lot of the criticisms for the difficulty, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels like this, and have to make the enemies more aggressive, please. If we assume DMC6 launches near the end of PS5's lifecycle, that console should easily handle turbo mode at launch, given that the PS5 is much more powerful than the PS4. You don't need like post updates or like a special edition for that one, please. Divergent mode. This mode would be so amazing, so you can play all missions on whatever character you want without needing to do mods. I mean, they kinda show this stuff like that on the DMC5 trailers where you see Dante in Nero's mission, but unfortunately that was not a thing. Now man, I hope you have a mode like this in DMC6. It will make the replayability even better. Full-on co-op mode. I mean, I prefer this to be an optional mode instead of like having a constant AI Dante or Vergil always beside you while you play solo. That could easily interrupt you doing combos or freestyle. So that's a big no for me if that's like how they do the full co-op thing. But if it's just like an optional thing, that would be dope. You know, I'd rather have that. I mean, y'all see the modded co-op, right? I mean, it's definitely possible. It's already there. All Capcom gotta do is just make it an official mode and everyone would be happy. Obviously, there's gotta be some balancing stuff if this were to happen, especially when there's like 3 characters at once when playing co-op. So yeah, they definitely gotta tweak that. Last one will be better photo mode. Man, Capcom is such a hit or miss with photo modes. Like, you got good to decent with the Monster Hunter games, but other than that, it's just like, it's alright to like bare bones. I guess Resident Evil 4 remake was like the best one in their latest RE Engine games. But yeah, DMC5 is one of the like the worst ones Capcom has made. And the worst one is Dragon's Dogma 2, because I don't know what the fuck they did with that camera. You can't even move it anywhere. You can only rotate it. It's so weird. But yeah,
Better photo mode for DMC6, please. Just at least make it average, you know, and not just like bare bones. But yeah, that's all I want for the photo mode. Now let's dive into the playable characters and their potential changes now that Itsuno's gone. Nero. There's a good chance Nero might finally get a Devil Breaker switcher, allowing him to swap between breakers on the fly. This feature was a point of debate during the development of DMC5, as the dev team wanted it to be swappable, but Itsuno preferred the one-time consumable mechanic thingy that is known in DMC5 now. So with Itsuno out of the picture, the Double Breaker switcher idea could make it into DMC6, possibly as an unlockable feature like the super costumes, or hell, they could just let Nero swap breakers on the fly throughout the whole game. I mean, I'm fine with that. And if you think about it, it also makes sense lore-wise to have Nero have the Double Breaker like that, because the Double Breakers in DMC5 were developed in just a month by Nico. Now imagine maybe a year or two later of Nico developing Double Breakers. It's hard to imagine they'd still be fragile or non-swappable. Nero has some potential to receive a new weapon, perhaps something like a Spectral Yamato or, you know, something similar to that. And regarding his double trigger, I prefer to see him further develop the, you know, the long hair double trigger form he got in DMC5, rather than jumping straight into like a Sin double trigger. You know, maybe wait maybe 2 more games or so for Nero to finally, you know, get the chance to get that. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Additionally, I'd love to see lock-on inputs for the Devil Breakers, adding more depth to their mechanics. A single button contextual attack feels limiting, and incorporating lock-on commands would give players greater control and allow for more creative expression in combat. Lastly, there's the potential for a Nero boss fight. This was something planned for DMC5 Special Edition, but ultimately scrapped. Who knows, maybe it will finally make its way into DMC6. Dante. Honestly, I think they nailed Dante in DMC5. If he remains largely the same in DMC6, but with a few new weapons, I'd be completely satisfied. That said though, if they do bring back some of his iconic DMC3 moves, like wall running and enemy surfing, man, that would change things up. You know, that would be incredible. If Itsuno were still the director for DMC6, I'd feel more confident about seeing those features return, especially since he mentioned that on a live stream.
Will we see the return of wall running from Trickster? Is that wall running for Trickster? Is that something we might see the return of?
So honestly, we did not put the wall running in this one. We're sorry. Okay. Obviously, for those of you guys who know, wall running started with DMC2.
Yep.
It's not in DMC5.
Not in DMC5.
Itsuno-san says, whenever, if ever, we make a sequel, we promise we'll put that in. You guys are gonna hold us to that now, aren't you?
Clip that now, guys. Like, yeah, you can hold that to the...
I mean, he could be just joking, but, you know, who knows? Maybe he left some notes for the development team to follow in his absence. I'd also love to see some of the scrap weapon concepts for Dante to finally come to life, like the saxophone or the ice skates. You know, those 2 weapons were scrapped from DMC5, and I would love to see that in DMC6. It's almost like an even 2.0 weapon. That would be so dope. You know, instead of guitar riffs, you know, you get like saxophone licks or saxophone melodies. You know, that would be so dope. They could also add something like the Water Tonfa's Devil Arm. This one is not a scrap concept from the dev team, but this one won the fan-made concept Devil Arm competition on an official DMC livestream 3 years ago.
Pretty cool. This morning when I was, you were kind enough to put these together for me, and so I translated them in Japanese for Itsuno-san. Yeah, I thought the Tonfa was a really cool idea, especially with the jet stream. You know, the idea that
I like that
because the idea also being, again, this was another one that actually had this nice gameplay concept in it where, you know, you attack with the Tonfas, but then like, so if at the end of the combo, if you hold the button, then you can get this extra jet stream that comes out. I did think that was really cool. So yeah, let's go with the Tonfas.
Okay, so
Not gonna lie to you, Tonfas would be sick. And I don't think we have seen a water-based weapon in DMC so far, right? I hope I'm not tweaking and forgetting an important weapon in Devil May Cry right now. But hey, I'm all for it, baby. Vergil. What we got for Vergil in DMC5 was amazing. They added new stuff for him, extended some moves, added new special big attacks similar to Judgment God End for each double arm. He got Doppelganger, better teleports compared to 4 SE, and we also even got the classic Devil May Cry 3 Aerial Rave. Like, I really have no problems how they handled with him in DMC5. Well, maybe just get him new weapons in DMC6. Like, keeping Beowulf in DMC6 might feel a bit out of place, so it's likely we'll get a new gauntlet weapon. Possibly something similar to, I don't know, Urizen gauntlets, or maybe a fresh new gauntlet that he will get from killing a boss or something. There's also a chance he could get like a sight or even a rapier type of weapon. I don't know, I feel like that really fits Vergil, but I don't know, that could be just me though. I really wish we had seen a regular Devil Trigger for Vergil too, especially the one featured in the concept art. Man, that design looked incredible. If it does make an appearance in DMC6, I imagine the input for switching between regular DT and STT would work similar to how it does for Dante, like pressing the button once for DT and holding the button down for STT. As for the Doppelganger, it could be mapped strictly to the D-pad for activation. I think that could work. Oh yeah, last but definitely not the least, they definitely need to improve the summon swords too. In DMC5, they just didn't feel powerful enough. They were like toothpicks. Like, modders have made the summon swords more impactful than the actual game itself. I mean, not to discredit the dev team. You know, they did a phenomenal job, but summon swords though, really, like, make them more powerful in DMC6, okay? Now that you've heard my, hypothesis, theories, and all that, now it's your turn. I would like to see what's your opinion on DMC6, the current state of Devil May Cry, Hideaki Itsuno leaving. Just let me know in the comments because I really want to see y'all opinions. Feel free to disagree on the shit I say in here. But yeah, I'm gone. Go check out my DMC covers if you're interested. See ya.